Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Let's do a small sound check as we usually do. But I hope you can hear me loud and clear because, boy, oh boy, am I excited for today. For those who do not join us very often on Fridays, we are doing a gamey thing. We look at a Web3 title, and based on completely subjective and nonsensical criteria, define whether it is in the absolute scale of game's eligibility a smash or a pass. Today is a very special case because, for one, I hope that it's not going to flop in any way. I did do test private streams in advance to make sure that everything works fine, so it should be good. But today we're looking at Illuvium, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Yes, the game that were perpetuated to basically carry the whole Web3 gaming for quite a long time is now in open beta. What does it mean? That it's not really the final version of things, of course, right? There are going to be a lot of improvements coming on, but you can absolutely play it now. And you can start, minus the download time from the Epic Store, in pretty much like a few clicks because it supports native immutable passport integration. It is immutable, of course. And it is otherwise very, very easy to jump into. But we will look at that. Let me know, of course, in the chat if you're already playing. I'd love to add everyone and anyone as a friend, of course. And let's take a look at Illuvium in general, because Illuvium is a special case in the sense that it's not really a title or like one game. It's more of a I don't know, franchise of very interconnected experiences um they're just there and they work together. We'll also take a look at what that means in more practical terms, but let's check out the basics first, right? So just for the look of feet and feel of things, I mean, I doubt that there are a lot of people who don't know Illuvium at this point, but still, just to be completely fair and transparent for some people who might not. Right, so Illuvium is, as I said, this sort of a franchise, kind of, with the pioneer title there, or like the flagship title, of course. Excuse me, being the Overlord. So this is the open world game with the exploration mechanics, where you can also mine some resources, where you are effectively like a superhuman in a cryostasis that is on board of a stranded Ark ship of sorts, right? And they decide to wake you up because you are well, effectively marooned on an orbit of a planet, right? And your goal is to effectively get the whole team off it. For that, you would of course need resources to support the lab, to make sure that necessary repairs are being made, that you get upgrades for your equipment, and for the bug or the bug. I'm not even sure what were they going for, the composer or the bug, because it kind of looks like it. Anyway, for your robot companion, of course. And you have other experiences to support your overworld adventure, right? We're talking about, of course, the arena. So this is like an auto battler with various sort of characters and creatures, of course, from the Illuvium universe. We're talking about the goodness me, I am terrible with names. You also can do a little bit of a management sim in Illuvium Zero, right? This is also how you harvest fuel that you can exchange towards other resources or other monetary rewards. So if you own a land NFT, for instance, and those are kind of pricey, right? So last I checked on the marketplace, they easily go for a couple of $100 in ETH, right? So there you go. But because of how the whole ecosystem is designed, so in Illuvium's perspective, the kind of the distribution is very, very clear. They have the demand games and the supply games. The demand games for fuel and for resources is basically where you would need those, otherwise you would not be able to participate. And then the supply games are, for instance, the Zero, where you as a landowner produce fuel and, of course, some other resources too. And yeah, you collect the Illuvatars. Those are also not just equipment and whatnot, but they kind of expand on the lore and create your maybe a more personal connection with the world of Illuvium for you, because they are around this universe, so to say, right? But yeah, for titles in general, Overworld is, I would say, what most of the people were looking forward to, because it looks amazing. There's this whole open world sort of a scale, or semi-open world scale. And that leads us to, okay, how is that all governed, managed, whatever you want to call it, right? Well, as I said, the demand and the supply of resources generally in Illuvium are split in four titles, right? And everything that you do is kind of it can be basically fed into the same distribution machine across the board. So I'm going to show you something now that you will understand what it means. MBX, these titles need a gaming PC, I assume. Well, if you want to play Overworld, yeah, it can. It's not super heavy on your hardware. For instance, Wider World was a lot heavier, right? But the rest, just do it as that. Um, Coming back to my point, how everything is interconnected, right? So this is the Illuvidex, basically your main point of exchanging anything and everything that you can possibly get, right? For instance, if you switch to the overworld, this is not where lands play a lot of a overall, I would say. I really love the stats, right? It gives you a complete transparency over all sorts of assets and what's kind of the what's available compared to what's the total foreseeable supply it's going to be, right? You can also do the advanced analytics or not. And for the game, what matters are, of course, the illuvials, so those collectibles and stuff, your equipment gear, some resources that you will need for kind of weapon upgrades, new schematics that you will need for pretty much anything that you can create in the game. And of course, the enhancements. Those are purely cosmetics, right? So if you don't like the default purple, which, by the way, from the color scheme point of view, but also from how the character moves, and I guess we're going to see that, it reminds me a lot of Saints Row 3 and the purple thing. Um, yeah, enough said, right? A lot of possibilities. Then you always have this overview of, okay, what might I need for each specific game? And you will see that in certain games, for instance, equipment gear, illuvials as well, and the fuel exchange and whatnot. It's not restricted to just one game, right? So everything is kind of flowing into each other. Everything is interconnected, which I think is the absolute beauty of how this ecosystem is built. I was initially very skeptical about having to build four separate experiences for anything and everything. But now that I think back to it, it could be more beneficial in terms of the attention spread, right? Because most of the times, the model that games follow, Web3 games specifically, is that all of that you can see has, or at least is presumed to have, utility and presence in one title. So it's a very congested experiences where you're expected to react to the world changes, where you are expected to be able to, I don't know, maintain your land plot or make it the coolest thing and explore the world and do the quests and stand out and all of those things, right? And they just split it in terms of gameplay in the broader sense of that, right? But kept avenues and bridges in between so that it doesn't feel isolated and it really feels like parts of the same universe. I'm starting to croak, which I apologize for. That means it's hydration time. How are we doing? Look in the chat. Team Daku in the house. Prince of Paradox. All right, we have the online in saying that Illuvials are cute and Forest Slayer is a hater. Which side are you on? Do you think Illuvials are cute or mid? At any rate, here we go back. So how is all of that funded? I have to say, from kind of the crypto point of view, this is probably one of the most confusing to white papers that I've ever read, because most of that kind of, okay, what do you do with the token, is reflected in the DAO and in the staking. So ILV, the ILV token, it's supposed to be like this purely governance thing, or at least leaning heavily into that. But if you look at the tokenomics, and I'm gonna pull it up in just a second. So there's this graph, right? ILV, okay, fair enough. Token sales, okay, sounds good. But then the distributions, for instance, there is the visionary aspect of it. What's that? Meanwhile, then you could go back to the council stipend, and it covers, in essence, what it sort of is. But there's no, like, not the kind of information that we're typically used to seeing, right? It's lightweight, explanatory, but I would start asking questions about, okay, but that's good, this treasury, this vault, all right, yield farming, where specifically? There's a mention of the balancer, fair enough. Are we talking about the staking mechanisms then? And if we go and maybe try to look for a separate section on staking where everything's explained in the white paper, it's just not there. So for, I would say, a base explanation on how Web3 is involved at all, because they do cover, of course, the game objects as NFTs, interoperability that they provide, and why it's Illuvium X, Immutable X, of course, that they chose all of those things. I don't know. You tell me. No, not throwing shade or anything. It's just the sort of a, well, design that I'm not used to seeing, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. It doesn't feel like it's not saying anything, but at the same time, it's a lot of stuff that gives you a rough kind of understanding of, okay, where it's leaning. But if you want details, then you're gonna have to dig around for things. As always, of course, do your own research. That is by no means my advice to judge a project solely based on a white paper. But that just I don't know how to interpret that. Let's put it this way. But all right. We have taken a look at the Web3 part of that. Let's take a look at the game part of that. For this one, I am going to have to enable the entire screencasting, because the application window casting does not support audio, and Illuvium, in my opinion, has a beautiful sound design. So that's something you should enjoy. And I will turn my camera off so that the focus is on the game. But let's give this a try. Hopefully It's gonna be a smooth ride. All right. I will um, mute the audio as well. And here we go. We are kicking off with the customization um, options. This is going to be the first thing you ever see when entering Illuvium. There are not a lot of super advanced options, but still. Um, this is going to be a playable character in the overworld. Not much customization depth, but it's a great start. It's a solid start. Um, just one thing, which since I've already connected the account and whatnot, I cannot change, is your fraction. So there are four to choose from. Currently, they have very, very limited impact on some rewards. It's not there is no hint in the game of what it's going to define further on. Perhaps we are in for fraction wars in the future. We never know. But let's maybe go back to the main menu. Or if I play start, I wonder if it's going to bring me back to my save. Let's put it this way. Or if we're going to start with a tutorial. I don't have problems with either. That's also one of the things that okay. So this is the point at which we have passed.
That view. I know Herc keeps hammering that this ain't paradise, but it comes pretty close, don't you think?
And there we
Anyhow, you're out of your pod and into the wild. Let's get started. There's a hotspot up ahead. Jack into your heat map.
All right. What was I going to say? So this is the point where you are fresh out of the tutorial, where you're taught how to shoot, how to paraglide, sort of, the double jumps, speed ups, the ropes, effectively, and is given this sick ass armor. Told you, it's like a Saints Row purple. Anyway, it's a lot of thought put into the basically orientation and the map UI and whatnot. You have all sorts of mechanics to discover the area around you a little bit better in a more informed fashion. Let's put it this way. You have a heat map that shows you where most of the resources are concentrated. You can also see them in the live
Activate
view.
nether sight on your visor. It'll reveal all kinds of anomalies.
All right. Thank you, Vega. The obligatory guide NPC, whatever you want to call it.
Switch your rifle to analyze. Aim, hold, and release when charged. Watch it crumble. Bark will vaporize and collect the contents. Rhodium is crucial for just about every piece of tech we've got.
All right. Let me know in the chat if the game sound is too loud or if you need me to adjust anything. I'll try to keep my eye on it. Where was I? Yeah. That's basically, it does make you feel incredibly powerful. All of the stuff that you're able to do even in the beginning.
Nice find. You're going to need those for the new weapons we're developing. They seem to resonate with these creatures.
What creatures? It's a rock. From what I can tell so far...
Great job, Rook. You found a shard.
Fairly...
They're for capturing. Make sure to process it back in Sanctum Mesa before use. Otherwise, it won't work.
Yeah. It's fairly non-demanding in terms of hardware resources, so I hope it looks okay on the stream, but right now I'm running fairly high. I'm not overheating. It's not stuttering. It's all good, especially for an open world game. I know that there is limited content. There's effectively just this one area, so to speak, right? But it looks good. It looks good, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel really like a chosen one of sorts, uh, with tons of cool abilities. The movement is also smooth. I have not been in an actual combat encounter
That
yet.
essence will come in handy at the forge. Gold's logs identified this as a floraball. Stupid name, if you ask me. Use it to give your captured creatures a boost.
Exactly. But where was I going with this? Yeah, it feels okay so far. Like the gunplay, how intuitive it is, how it just feels, whether it's precise, whether it has the exactly kind of like haptic response that you're looking for, even by the mainstream gaming industry standard. That is commendable, I would say. But then again, Illuvium has been in development for quite a while, right? And there are a lot of game developers first and foremost in the team. So does it surprise me?
Hold
Not
up,
really,
there's a
no.
disturbance. There, sending you a ping. Introduce yourself to the local wildlife. These creatures, they're not all there. Your rifle won't harm them, but it does destabilize them. They'll fold into some kind of pocket dimension. Looks violent, but that's your entrance. Don't overthink it.
An interesting intro. Let's make a pause. I want to check on the chat and see if we are good and stable. A lot of wombat commands. Why? Okay. Well, not gonna complain about that. Let's go and capture our first illuvial. I wonder what's it going to be. It's we're probably not gonna have like a starter Pokemon situation. It's just gonna be like this default little guy. But yeah. My dude, where are you going? Where are you going?
Hey, Buck! Time to bring it! Support our new recruit! Yes! You two make a great team. Buck, hold that pocket. It's go time.
To scan or to fight? Let's scan. Can we fight? Do we have to? Okay, I guess. Why couldn't we just fight it right away? If that is what's necessary to capture them, I'm slightly confused why that is not a thing. But okay. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't even manage to look at whom we captured exactly, but it looked like a pretty funky purple little guy. Nice, cute little fella. So let's see what sort of moves he can bring on. Check the chat real quick. Curious to see what you lovely people think so far. Domino effects. Are we all getting FOMO for Twitch commands now? Is that what's happening? Really? Okay. Interesting. Thank you, Prince Paradox. Thank you kindly. Hopefully, it will continue being amazing. I would love to see what the fighting mechanics are on Illuvium, but right now we are in a loading sequence. So far, from my understanding, everything is running smoothly, but you never know. You never know with this stuff. Or, well, you do, but then it betrays you. Ah, there we go.
Right. This Doka looks tough. Soon you'll
Doka.
have your own creatures. But right now, it's just you and him.
I guess. Yeah, let's go.
Boy, take it! This one's too much! Bach, pull them out! Now!
Oh, okay, we were supposed to die. Alright. But that thing, I mean, maybe it's just my Baldur's Gate brain rot, but that thing reminded me a little bit of an owlbear from that sort of a top side isometric view, but a funky alien.
You're safe now.
One.
I'll be honest, I really thought your first time would be different. Ah, well, no worries. Let's get you a bigger stick. Use the obelisk to return to Sanctum Mesa.
Sanctum Mesa. That's such a stupid name for a ship. Yeah. Was that supposed to be a Half-Life homage? Let's just skip that. It's not a particularly spectacular cinematic. You just get sucked in and kind of railgunned into subspace, I'm assuming. But yeah. That's pretty much it so far. So even after the tutorial, there is a first kind of area, first level phase where you are acquainted with the basics of world discovery, world interaction.
Welcome back to Sanctum Mesa. We need to get you properly equipped if you're going to take on what's out there. Trust me, they get scary. Head over to the 0 Point Forge and craft something that'll give you a fighting chance.
All right. What I was going to say is that it's a pretty smooth onboarding, albeit maybe a bit chaotic, and that Vega NPC doesn't feel like an extremely well-written character.
Notice that clicking noise in your radiation detector? That's substance. Coats pretty much everything on this planet.
Oh my god.
Whenever you return, your drone purifies and extracts it automatically. It's crucial for refueling the Leviathan. The drones are obsessed with it too. I think it's connected to the obelisk somehow.
Everything is a fallout.
The more resources you bring in, the more favor you'll carry with the higher-ups. Everyone wants to be the hero who gets us home.
What higher-ups? I have seen exactly 2 people so far. But anyway, there is also the moment or the nuance of sorts when it comes to travel, because once you leave a location, you cannot go back, and 2, all locations have, presumably based on the risk-reward sort of a ratio, sort of stages, and stage 0 in its very, very basic iteration, it's always free, but then you need to pay to access other stages, which is a nice balancing move because, as I said, the higher the stage is, the more the potential booty is, so to speak. But also, it's not necessarily something that I would want to have to pay for in a game, as in compared to, let's say, equipment and really just anything and everything else. I'm getting slightly disoriented. No, that should be the right way. Sorry, I just thought that maybe it's like here on the inside, but I would have to enter from elsewhere. If I wanted more equipment or something to basically affect the gameplay for me and tip the scales a little bit right this instant, I would probably first and foremost go with that for monetization rather than access for whatever, for more stages. But again, not throwing shade, just sharing an observation. I don't. That's a lot of very funky looking stuff. Okay, so we're there.
All right.
Steps.
Put those materials to good use. Let's forge you a sword.
Okay. Looks like we are forced into some sort of a policing thing. Yep.
There you go.
And okay. I mean, this looks fairly
That's it.
smooth. Yes, confirm. I can only commend the team
Boom.
for
This beauty packs a bit more punch. Hold up.
this guy's
Almost
so
forgot
rude.
about your shard. Gotta get that cured too. You'll need a good stash, since they don't always hold.
Yep. As I was saying, I can only commend the team from obviously learning from casual mobile games, because this thing here feels super intuitive. You have a clear overview of what you need, what you have, what you're going to get, and how to enhance it even further, right? So, to cure all the 4 shards, yeah, of course. I'm not sure if I'm very fond of this sort of a hand holding.
Note the
thing so
perfect
far,
structure. Without it, those monsters just leak out. Okay, now you might have a chance. Head back to the obelisk and let's get it done.
Is there a fast travel system? I'm assuming no. But
Blinking to the obelisk. Gotta love shortcuts.
oh, well, there you go. Now to... There we go.
Oh, I added a grotto to your inventory, just in case.
Which is another Illuvium, I'm going to assume. But yeah. Brightland Steppes.
All right. Brightland Steps, take 2. Let's show that Doka what you're really made of.
I'm curious. Yeah, a lot of things happening there. Also, something that the team has really nailed is the visuals. Like, art direction wise, cinematics wise, and you can even watch cinematics separately in the main menu in case, I don't know, you need a break.
That Doka couldn't have strayed far.
That's...
They stick to their territories. Listen to me. Even I'm saying Doka now. We really have to stop using Cole's names or they're gonna stick. Our friend is back. Let's see what that new gear can do. Now, here's something useful. That gem inside your new weapon gives your rifle some extra kick. Now the hunt should go pretty smooth. Remember, use bark to your advantage.
Yeah. Where the bloody hell are you? I feel like I'm in some sort of a great emu war. I don't feel like I'm getting an advantage of any sort. Then again, it's only like one.
Ah, look at that energy spike! Bark really packs a punch! Singularity forming. Let's go!
All right. One other thing that I noticed before, okay, before we move on to the fight is that there doesn't seem to be a manual save feature, right? So if you are making quite some progress in between the main milestones, it's going to be a tough call deciding whether to drop out or just to push a little bit forward so that you don't lose all of that, all of the materials, of course, everything. Maybe also something that will be added in the future.
All right, let's get that new hardware online. Equip your sword.
Supposed to. Select your weapon and equip by clicking on your character.
Whoa, hold up! These readings are off the charts. Toka's tougher than we thought. You're gonna need backup. Put that Grocko to use. Don't worry, Bark can keep him in line.
Okay. Temporary bonuses for the next battle. This one enhances defense.
Give your Grocko a boost by feeding it that Floraball.
Okay.
Take it
Seems
down!
fairly easy so far. It's an auto battler, right? So not much to do, but
Outstanding.
strategize in advance.
You make quite the team. Bark's got the Doka pinned. Don't hesitate with that shard. This pocket won't be stable forever.
Why does it have to be a drag and drop animation?
Bark, now!
I don't necessarily understand those inconsistencies in terms of UX. A lot of things are. Oof. That took out a lot from our guy.
One last try. Come on.
Aww,
Got it.
lovely.
Doka's secured. It's all yours now.
It really does look like an owl bear a little bit. But yeah, you get all sorts of stats, a cute animation, the kind of the element and the class, all sorts of distributions. So right now we're seeing that he is speedy. He does pack a lot of health. And of course, what is that icon? I'm trying to... and attack speed is also on top. A little bit weaker, definitely, on the... Goodness me, let me find that. I'm sorry, I am old and blind, so it takes me a while to find things. On the range, so it's close combat all the way, enough said, right? It's not really the best energy resistance. But you know what? For that, he has a sick critical amplifier.
Now,
So
leg it before it collapses.
Docker is great. All right, there we go. We have our first Illuvium. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. Let me quickly check on the chat and how we're all
Phew.
feeling.
Talk about cutting it close.
How are we doing? The Great Emu War, Prince Paradox is saying. So, for non-Australians in there, you can, it's not, I'm not pulling your leg, right? It's a thing that happened. You can look it up on Wikipedia as well. But basically, back, I think it was 1930s or something like that, maybe a tad earlier, where emus in Australia, they effectively, they were a massive pain for the farmers, right? They would go into the crops, eat a lot of that stuff. And so the Royal British Navy, the command, they decided to put a stop to that and cut down on the emu population. Emus turned out to be smarter. There are even quotes such as the emu command applied guerrilla tactics, and that those birds are sturdy as tanks or something like that. So there's a whole shebang. I highly recommend looking that up for an entertaining weekend read. And I still cannot believe that we don't have a movie based on that. Anyway, back to Illuvium. Or not. I have just misclicked one thing. My sincerest apologies. Like I said, I'm old and blind. And that. And we should be good to go. There we go. All right. Tapping out. Here's Illuvium. So, we are going back. I know that this is a staple for a lot of kind of early phase tutorial missions, whatever, but I can't say that I'm very fond of the tons of backtracking there. I understand that there isn't a lot of content yet, but I would love to do a little bit more of things. We've already been introduced to crafting, to the main battle mechanics, right? So let's see if the game has anything else in store for us besides story, for instance. Can I teleport to the thing that is the Essa? Of course, no, but there are more humanoid icons, so I'm assuming we were getting some colleagues. And somebody's walking towards us, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably a good thing, right? Yeah. Do we want to talk to them? Dekar. Hello. Somebody else playing. Right. So I guess we need to get back into that thing. Missions. Okay. I can't really. I'm not sure what specifically this is going to entail. It's just probably this. I was looking forward to, well, getting back into the ship and into interacting with the NPCs a little bit more, because the ship itself, the interior, looks amazing. But looks like this is it. Most of the things are, well, simple, right? Capture more, win 6 encounters, gain XP, etc., etc. So also another props to the team with a nod to very, very classic mobile game things, I would say. Definitely helpful when it comes to retention. Right now, we don't have anything. We do not have any sort of resources, any sort of consumables, cure charts, just one. Well, let's see. Those are challenging. Let's try to, I don't know, maybe do another simple thing, or looking at the time, it might actually be my cue to wrap up. Which I don't want to, because it's a great Web3 game, like, especially by the industry standards, which, don't get me wrong, they keep rising, as they should. But even with that, it looks and it feels really, really good. Well, my good people, let's leave Illuvium for the time being and bring back this face and some background music as well. So, Illuvium. What can we say about the game itself? Well, you already heard my impression, right? I do think that, especially for a Web3 game, Illuvium shows a lot of promise, right? Game-wise, it feels kind of fluid, very responsive to the player's input, even though it does a little bit of hand-holding, which it's a taste thing, right? Some people feel more comfortable just exploring the world on their own and everything that the game itself entails, right? Some would rather have the sort of process in place, so can't really say that it's objectively a good or bad thing. Not my thing. It is a vibrant world that, for the time being, again, because it's a public beta, it feels a little bit empty. I'm getting the Zelda Breath of the Wild kind of initial release vibes, where it's so bright, it's so funky, and you have the possibility to do a lot of things. But you look around yourself and you be like, so what do I do? But I am willing to, push this piece of feedback a little bit back, and considering that this is a early version, I do apologize for tearing up. Illuvium truly is such an amazing game. No, I'm sorry, allergies are kicking out, and of course it happens at the most inconvenient time. But what I was about to say is, it feels like a solid start. There are a couple of unconventional designs, I would say, or design decisions, because there are 4, as I said, titles within the same sort of universe split, but they're also organically interwoven, because you saw that the monster capturing mechanic is effectively the arena, which is also its separate mod. So I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely an orthodox mix, but it does produce an interesting experience. And I would say, if more kind of QOL updates are introduced, because I would love to manually save my game, I do not have the time for figuring out okay, where does it all start? Where does it all begin? If it's purely an MMO and it's just going to be those sort of missions from now on and not really no story campaigns whatsoever, all right, fine. But then I would have loved knowing that in advance, and I would love not having to lose my progress during these kind of like first steps in the game. So with that sort of an advance credit, let's put it this way, I think that yeah, I'm going to give Illuvium a smash. Well, there you have it. It is not as demanding as some of the Web3 games already are. It is engaging. It follows the classic routes in a lot of things. So, for instance, the sci-fi designs, they feel very polished, but also, how do I put it? It's not secondary or repetitive. It's just this sort of a sense of familiarity in the setting that doesn't really throw you off, right? Whether it works towards immersion or against it, that's a whole separate argument. But that's my impression so far. It's smooth. You don't have to be an absolute third-person shooter pro to enjoy it. So I would say yes. And I'm looking forward to seeing more in the base game, of course, in other modes. And maybe some months down the line, we will visit Illuvium once there is more content, more lands, and definitely more players to check out the multiplayer aspect of it a little bit more. All right, then. That was it for today. I am happy that we managed to have a smooth sailing today. Let's pick our victim, I would say. And for those who are looking at the stream right now, we're talking about the Twitch thing, of course, where we raid somebody else who is just, minding their business, going live with no expectations whatsoever, and then the Wombat fam just barges in. Like, whew. Also, because I was casting the entire stream and was staying in StreamYard mostly, I didn't see that, but Atlas Doors, 24 months, 2 years with us. You're an absolute legend, Micah. You're an absolute legend. Okay, let's see who we have. Suggestions in the chat are, of course, very, very welcome on which other person has nothing better to do on Friday evening. No, I'm just kidding, of course. We have Sunbox. We have Stocks and Bonds, Mule Skinner, Pickaxe Master. Chat, who should we raid? Dudes and dudettes. The Wombat command is not going to do anything. But okay. Let's go to, I don't know, to Sandbox. They are building right now what looks like a rooftop party. So maybe this is something that you can create in the game as well. We have right now Cami Solze at the screen, and the raid begins in now. Have fun, stay playing and slaying, and enjoy your weekend. And of course, we'll see you next week.